jump in. Welcome to Alphabet Scoop, episode 18. I'm your host, Stephen Hall, and I'm joined once again by Abner Lee, and this time he's in San Francisco, right?
Yes, I'm in San Francisco covering Google Cloud Next 2018, their cloud-focused developer conference for the week, and there's been a ton of news from it.
Yeah, news is kind of, I guess, hit or miss in terms of things that might be interesting to consumers. A lot of the stuff is
Mhm.
kind of on the technical or enterprise side of things. A lot of our listeners probably would not be all that interested in those things, but what of those things did you find most interesting, Abner?
So, G Suite, that's where most of our audience is interested in, Gmail, Google Drive. So, on the first day of the keynote, so Google Docs is adding this thing called grammar suggestions, which uses machine learning to actually suggest grammar suggestions as you write. And it's according to the team, it's more advanced. It's a more advanced capability than anybody's actually doing, like compared to Office, and it's going to get better over time since it's an advanced machine learning model. Um, I guess one of the more minor things is Smart Reply in Hangouts Chat, which is again the enterprise chatting equivalent. It's Google is full steam ahead on that, it seems, from all the announcements. Google Voice for G Suite, again, it's another enterprise thing that they're doing. It's from what it appears, it might be a separate app that's like moving away from what the current look, what the current consumer version. So there might be two split versions of that moving forward. I'm not sure. The enterprise version at least adopts this like Hangouts dialer icon, this green tint that matches Hangouts Meet and Hangouts Chat. So we don't know about that. So that's like the G Suite enterprise stuff. But moving on to a more design thing, we got a good look. We got two good looks at upcoming material themes for Android. So with Google Drive announced that it's working towards this priority view, which is basically uses machine learning to suggest files, a feed of files. So right now there's quick access, which is this carousel at the top of Drive that suggests like things that were recently edited, that were recently commented on. But Google is trying to make that the primary view for Google Drive moving forward. And but the thing to balance that is something called workspaces that allows users to pin files they frequently use. And again, there's some machine learning where Google suggests workspaces that it should create and files that should be in those workspaces. So if every you have a meeting every week and you need these documents for that meeting, that workspace will be moved to the front, or if you currently have a project that you constantly go back to, those workspaces are there.
So it's basically creating like a suggested section of like, this is the things we think that you have been working on lately, and basically, putting them at the forefront so that you can easily jump into them. Is that the gist, basically?
Yep, and it's a feed. It's another feed. This is in terms of ranking, this could be the first page of Google Drive going forward. Instead of your list of files and that quick access up top, this priority view is the number one thing that opens when you open Drive. And as like another hint that this could be like this is the new way going forward, we saw a glimpse of the mobile app of the Drive for Android that adopts Material Theme. It's a stock white background. There's a
Yeah.
search bar up top, which is so there's still while there's still a navigation drawer, it moves to a bottom bar, which is in many of Google's apps and other Android apps. That's a notable thing going forward, like a first peek of like
With this,
something that might be coming.
with this material stuff, and I guess this isn't just visual design. This is also like new features that may or may not have come, even if they didn't do the visual design.
Yeah.
Did you at the event, did you get like the feeling that this is something that's going to be coming to the enterprise side of G Suite first, or did it seem like it's going to be everyone?
I got the idea that it was enterprise first because apparently, in one of the sessions, Google discussed that this was a thing they were working for 2 years. I'm not sure how long was all that was dedicated to this priority suggested view because they were working on quick access. But I think they emphasized that they were working really hard on these machine learning models to get this right. And they were talking to customers in the field, seeing how it could be improved, testing the models. So I definitely think it could first come to enterprise because it integrates with Google Calendar and Gmail to get signals of um, so if you share a Drive file in an email thread, and that's an active email thread, Google Drive will surface that file in a suggested feed. So yeah, but I think it could at the end of the day come to consumer Gmail.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things on this slide says, it seems like all of these things are kind of enterprise focused. Like it says in regards to the priority page for suggested files on mobile, it says it surfaces the most important files and relevant content for each worker to help them stay informed. And then it has stay informed in bold. So is this like, I guess maybe part of the feed is like helping people see what other people have been collaborating on recently that maybe they're a part of that they maybe need to jump in and contribute to. Is that kind of
Definitely, yeah.
okay?
Like
Yeah, and that in
files
the
of the
context of
organization.
a right, and in the context of a personal drive, that might not really apply as much because I feel like a lot of us use Drive for storing and managing our personal files, which a feed would not be as relevant for that because we're not
Yeah,
usually collaborating with other people as much as you would in a workplace. So
yeah,
that
that's very
definitely
true.
makes sense that a lot of this stuff might come to enterprise first, especially since they're showing it off kind of under the radar exclusively at Google Cloud Next, and they're not. I mean, from a PR standpoint, they're not announcing these features for users or for end users. So,
Nope. Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like a lot of the pieces just suggest that this is going to be enterprise first. We also saw Gmail for Android's material theme, right?
Yes, that was a so in the when they announced it at the Gmail session, they were more explicit about this. That they talked about this as a complement to the web revamp that they did earlier. So this is compared to what we were just discussing with Drive. I think this is a much more every focus towards everybody. So again, we see this search bar at the top of the app. There's still a navigation drawer. And at the right, which is a new motif for these Drive G Suite apps, is your avatar, is your profile icon, which I think might be a new element, but I'm not sure. You might have seen it in the material theme concepts. But anyways, there is no bottom bar or a new fab bottom app bar. It's the same location, which I was talking with the PM about, and um, that seems to be like a more the decision they're going with. So it's a new style fab with the colorful icons and white background. But the
Yeah.
main feed is it shows your attachments, so like Drive attachments, files, images, that kind of stuff. And the Gmail for Android is adding the density options we see on desktop. So you can presumably hide those quick attachments and make it as
Yeah.
the interface as dense. And I think some people will like that a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. People who hate the new Reddit are gonna love that.
Yeah.
Like me.
So, oh,
Yeah.
same here. I can.
Yeah. Interestingly, I just wanted to mention we were at IO. We got to sit at a round table with the material team talking about material theme redesign, and one of the things they showed was what they called a quote exploration of what
Mhm.
mobile Gmail would look like with the material theme. And that one did show like a bottom app bar with like the hamburger menu on like the bottom left and a search icon, and then like one of those new centered fabs with like the colorful plus icon. And
Uh-huh.
notably, this one that they showed on the slide is a lot more, I would say, conservative in terms of
Yeah.
changes. It just whiteifies things basically. It doesn't have a bottom app bar, um, for better or worse. And it seems like Google decided not to embrace this colorful plus icon because, well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag because we've seen, I think in Drive, we see the colorful plus on the new icon on the web. So it's like a hit or miss thing with this colorful thing. I don't
I
I don't
think
I
it is
don't think.
colorful. It might be
Okay.
the image, but I think it is colorful.
Okay. Okay. Well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again like in dark rooms, me taking pictures. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is a colorful icon, and that consistency is going to make its way. Um, so yeah, again, in comparison to the web update, at this session, we were told that it is a smaller update. It's not as major, but as like a disclaimer, it's a directional. The update they shared is directional, which basically means that this is what they're moving towards, and the final design might change before it rolls out to all users. But the vibe I got from talking with the Gmail team afterwards was uh, that this is a smaller update, that it's not going to be changing too many things about the Gmail for Android experience. But also, I think it's important to keep in mind that given the labels and the folders in Gmail, that navigate at having quick access, that navigation tool and scrolling quickly to access all those things is important. And I don't think a bottom app bar is necessarily best suited for that decision.
Yeah.
For the bottom bar.
So one of the more, I guess, interesting things out of Cloud Next, moving past material design, was Google announced some new hardware. The Google Titan security key, which it looks a lot like some pre-existing hardware on the market. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. And so I believe the company is called Phytion. I know I'm butchering the name, but anyways, this company, like on their page, they clearly say that if you order in bulk, you can customize the cover, you can add an engraving on the back. So Google releasing hardware might be a bit disingenuous for this first generation, but
Yeah,
as we've seen with
this is definitely not made by Google material, I guess.
this is the Google Pixel, if we're looking at the Pixel 1, if we're looking historically. But the thing they did do is add custom firmware. Um, so two-factor authentication, or as Google calls it, two-step verification, is a security method. After you enter your account credentials and password, you need to have this key physically attached to your laptop and press a physical button. That begins a
Right.
handshake process with the server to make sure that it is you. The idea is to deny man-in-the-middle attacks that try to steal the key, the contents of the key, the handshake from the key as it talks to Google servers. So
Right.
that's the general high idea between two-step verification.
Yeah, I mean, two-step verification is, a lot of people are probably already familiar with it. I guess the primary method of two-step verification right now doesn't involve external hardware. It's just an app on your phone.
Yep.
Google's had its own authorizer, or what's it called? Google
Authenticator.
Authenticator, right? Google Authenticator has been out for a while. Authy is another competitor. I mean, that's the one that I use primarily. And I guess the key, it's
Key.
obviously it's more secure in a lot of ways. I guess the main way I've seen people try to attack, I guess, like two-factor authentication is they'll call like a cell provider and try to port a phone
Yep.
number, and then that gives them access to two-factor for for various websites. Like Twitter, I think still does phone-based two-factor. I know Uber does. So if you find the right vulnerability, and you find someone who has, I hate to be publicizing this method of cracking into someone's account, but you can pretty easily, unless you call your phone provider and you protect your number from being ported, it's pretty easy to break through that way. And I guess
Yeah.
that's just one of the many imperfections with phone-based or phone number-based two-factor, and this kind of hardware is much more secure. And Google bragged about that, right, at the
Yep.
event, saying that 80,000 engineers are using it, and no one's been
Successfully phished.
right.
And they also shared that all G Suite organizations that have rolled out security keys have not been phished, which is really quite an impressive fact if you think about it. 4 million G Suite customers. I'm not sure the percentage of those that have enabled security keys, but this is a good step forward for security.
Yeah, for sure. And you've used it a little bit yourself?
Yes, they gave some security keys out. The version they gave out is it's in the shape of a key. It has a USB-A port, which is unfortunate for this MacBook I'm using. So I've had to use the Pixel adapter, the USB-A to USB-C adapter that comes with the Pixel, and it's a ridiculously looking solution.
Yeah.
But it has NFC, so with phones you can just tap to the back.
Gotcha.
And
So that the key has NFC, or is that the other one? So there's two, right? There's one that's
yes,
Bluetooth, and there's one that's a physical
NFC.
USB. And
Yeah.
so the USB one has NFC as well, or is it the Bluetooth one
Yes.
that has it? Okay, gotcha.
The key, the USB version also has NFC, and that the other one is shaped like a fob. It has Bluetooth and NFC, but there is also a USB-C port at the end. So if you bring a cable, which
Gotcha.
is like such a clunky solution, you could connect it to a computer in theory.
Right. Right. So have you tried out the Bluetooth one? I mean, you can use the Bluetooth one with your phone, right?
Yeah, which is I think it's more ideal than NFC because I
It stays
personally don't have
stays
NFC
connected.
on. Yeah, Android Beam, remember that? It's still a
Yeah.
thing. The wildest
Yeah.
thing about using Android is sometimes like in our line of work with multiple phones, we accidentally push our phones back together and like it begins the Android beam. And it's like
Yeah.
this crazy, vaguely skeuomorphic thing where the screen contracts and it swooshes. It's crazy. I recommend everybody have try that today.
It's good for stealing APKs from phones at press events.
I have no idea what you're talking about. We've never done that before. Never ever.
No,
Um,
especially not. Yeah.
yeah. Stop incriminating ourselves. Hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically, if one were to try to steal APKs from phones,
Hmm. Can you
unreleased APKs.
So yeah, I had used the security key, and the thing I got out of it was like the major thing they're doing is putting it on the Google Store, which is consumer facing in a way. It's making security consumer facing in a way that I think is very important because it's on the Google Store. I can just imagine them like these keys at like $20, $10, maybe 20 for the moment. Imagine if every order of a Pixel book, of a Pixel phone, they throw in a key and encourage you to like, you should set this up. It's makes for better security. Like these like possible brand integrations are so important, and that they're doing this for security, which is like a really good thing. So I think they're making like a statement by putting this on the Google Store.
Yeah, I mean, Google's been pushing two-factor, and obviously Google pushes security in a lot of ways. Another thing that happened this week was Chrome 68 rolled out, just as a sidebar
Yes.
here, Chrome 68 rolled out, which now labels all HTTP sites as not secure, which is a first for any web browser. I'm pretty sure. I think Google's on the forefront of that. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Firefox and Safari are probably next in line, but that happened. So yeah, Google's definitely a leader in advancing security standards. Two-factor is not an exception, and putting on the Google Store is definitely telling consumers like, hey, this might be a good idea for some people
Yeah.
or for all people.
I remember like last month there was a thing about a Morgan Stanley analyst said you should give everybody a home mini. Honestly, if you have a Google account, Google should give you a security key. Like, yeah, I think that's a good proposition.
Yeah, it would probably save Google some headaches from people's accounts who get phished or
Yeah,
attacked. So
that's
I'm not sure.
awesome.
I'm not sure if the financial bottom line would even out there. But giving billions of people a little piece of plastic might not be cheap.
Yeah, that's true. This is just us spitballing.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that happened this week, surprisingly, Android P DP5 rolled out. Well, I guess a week early. You can't really say a week early when Google doesn't
Yeah,
publicly say when these things exactly. I mean, we do get a timeline, but we don't get exactly when these things are rolling out. But
yeah,
Android P DP5 rolled out this week. Beta 4, which is sidebar. That's just a terrible
yeah,
way to go about naming these releases, Google, because it's very confusing whenever we're trying to communicate to our readers which release this is, and some people are confused between Beta 4 and DP5 and then the same thing. So
yeah,
maybe in years, maybe in the future, Google will align those numbers or name them in a different way, or just make it all one release. I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
There's some work to there for Google.
Yeah. But yeah, so the release, long story short, it doesn't have that much of substance to note.
Yeah,
It's basically Google saying this is, it's the last release before final. So it's they're giving developers the opportunity to do one final test before Android P goes public. And we are hoping for maybe some changes with gesture nav to continue ironing that out. But nothing at all. So functionally, it's identical. We did have a couple things. Maybe you can talk about that. A couple things in our everything new in Android P developer preview 5 post, which had
yeah.
everything being two things.
Yes, two things. They change it. They changed the auto rotate icon, both in the quick settings and on the nav bar to this. It's honestly a rectangular retweet button from Twitter, which is funny. It's honestly funny. It used to be a circle in the nav bar, and it was more of a rounded thing in the quick settings. So it's minor. I think uh, again,
It
it
really
looks like a
does look like a
retweet
retweet
icon.
button, and it's very. I like the old one better. So if Google, if you could just revert that change, that'd be good.
And there was one more change, which I'm honestly backing out at this point because it was so insignificant. So I'm stalling as I open this document. It's loading. um. Oh yeah. The assistant shortcut was removed from the search bar. Um.
The
Honestly,
microphone,
the microphone icon was removed from the Pixel Launcher search bar throughout
right?
at the bottom of the home screen as well as in the recent view. I honestly think I can go either way because on the Pixel there's so many ways. The the tapping and holding on the home button on the Pixel devices at least is a fast experience. I On
Right.
other phones, I definitely could see them adding this button to make it way more apparent. But in terms of the Pixel, it's just the only thing we have now. This change makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you got tap and hold on the home button, and you have squeeze.
Yep.
there's no real reason. I mean, I don't know. I guess this might be annoying to people who are used. I mean, there's a factor of, I guess, muscle memory here, where some people may just be used to always tapping that instead of holding the home button or squeezing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the squeeze sticks around for Pixel 3 because I use it all the time and I think it's great. Surprisingly, that was one of those things that I was trash talking before the Pixel 2 was announced. I thought it was such a gimmick.
Yeah,
But now it's
HTC.
like it's the primary way. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it's the primary way I access Assistant now. And
Oh,
so I
yeah.
didn't I didn't even notice. I honestly didn't even notice that they removed the microphone button because I never use it. And maybe Google has data showing that only a certain percentage of people actually use that button and just realized it was you know
Yep.
uh, not worth keeping around. Other than that, I don't know about you, but I feel like DP5 is like noticeably faster. Um, I don't know. It
I
seems like
I haven't really. I could see that though.
a lot of the multitasking stuff and a lot of the gesture nav is a little bit smoother. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still here and
Um,
there's like some jank, but like I think generally it's
unless
better. I
it's
can't.
ready prime time.
It's practically impossible to quantify, but I think it's better. I think it's faster, and I'm happy with that. I still haven't gotten used to the fact that um, I don't know. The way that the notification shade is designed still catches me off guard sometimes.
Really? I
Um, and I'm still. Do you still have problems with swiping away notifications? Like,
Yes.
it's
Yes,
like
I do. It
I don't understand this. Like,
feels
I don't. It feels that it's been that way since like I don't think I had that problem with N, but I think with O that started happening for me. I'm not sure. I can't remember
okay. The
exactly.
problem is they added these quick actions, like how there's gestures, like if to snooze
Right.
notifications, like that
Right.
thing, like you need to have like you need it to be a little bit sticky, and I
Right.
think that's where the problem originates.
Gotcha. That might make a lot of sense. It's that's kind of like the same. It's kind of a similar problem to the problem I was mentioning with the home button of it not being as responsive because it's waiting to
Mm.
see. It's waiting to see if you're going to swipe up, and so it doesn't react immediately. And so maybe, yeah, maybe those other actions are making it so that that swipe gesture is not registering every time. And if that's the case, I'm down with just getting rid of them because like it frustrates the crap out of me whenever I'm just trying to just like quickly like swipe away my notifications.
I'm
And
not very honest here. I never snooze notifications. Never
yeah,
ever.
yeah, neither do
Like
I.
I
It's an
think
all or
that
nothing thing. I leave them there or I get
yeah.
rid of them.
Yeah,
So
so maybe it's different for the average user, but I don't think that by that much. It's removing it wouldn't the digital well-being features would still be there,
yeah,
and they could have a reason to remove snoozing.
yeah,
So yeah, um, this is what Android P is going to look like when it starts rolling out to the Pixel 2 devices next month, August. If we're going by history, the Pixel 3 would be October. So that should have like 9.1 or something, or a special version of 9.0, another build of 9.0 specific to the Pixel 3 devices with new features for that year.
wellness.
If we're, well, digital wellness, yes. If we're going
Although
by history.
it's possible, yeah, I would guess that it's going to be Pixel 3. I don't think that they're going to suddenly pop it into the final release. Make no sense.
No,
Um,
yeah, I doubt it.
yeah,
But by 9.1, presumably, we should put the all the devices should see digital well-being rolled out.
yeah, I think I'm excited for that because
Yeah,
I mean it's
I'm
unfortunate that
afraid
you're
the
afraid of it.
stats, the
Yeah.
stats are going to be pretty for any of us here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's part of the job. I mean, I've been using the iOS 12 beta on my iPhone, so the numbers aren't that accurate because I don't solely
Split
use an
into,
iPhone.
yeah.
So honestly, I'm not that bothered by the numbers, but it's because my iPhone is not my primary phone, or it's not the only phone I use. So
Uh,
it's only representing like a quarter or maybe half of the time that I've spent on screens. Um, I guess the other thing that I think about with digital wellness is that it's kind of a proprietary thing. It's kind of like a walled off, kind of data set. So it's like
yeah.
who uses only Google devices? Like, say we have wellness in the future on Pixel books and Pixel phones and et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Um, you kind of have to stay in your ecosystem to really get usable data, because Apple's system is going to be completely different. And if you want to have the comprehensive look, I guess device to device, you could get a decent look. Like if I use an iPhone and a Chrome OS tablet, in the future, we may have digital wellness features on both of those, and I may be able to get decent data on each individually. But if I'm wanting to look at a bigger picture of like how my usage looks on Apple, I have to have their digital wellness on Mac OS, and I have to use iOS, and it kind of gives me a comprehensive look. And so I'm like kind of I mean, there's no way around that. Obviously, this was going to happen. I mean, I'm wearing AirPods.
Hmm.
They primarily work with iPhones. You're wearing, Pixel Buds. So, we already live the walled off ecosystem life. We don't. There's no such thing as open standards anymore.
But
But
on open standards, they could be Apple and Google and a lot of other tech companies, like web-based tech companies. I think they could come together and set out a metric, release white papers on what they define, like a minute of usage as being, or an
right,
interaction accounts
yeah.
towards. There could be something like that one day, but at, I think it's a bit early at this stage, which is like everybody's just trying to get this out the door
Yeah, it's
and
a
like
long
seeing
shot.
consumer interest in features
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, it's a long shot, but what I'd like to see happen is Google do what it's done with everything else. Like Google has Chrome app on the iPhone. Obviously, they can't build in wellness features to the OS because they don't have that access.
Mm,
But on something
on an
like
app by app basis.
on the Mac, they could do it on app by app basis, so they can keep track of
YouTube.
all.
YouTube is an
Yeah,
example of this.
exactly. Perfect. Like YouTube on iOS, it could easily track my usage in that, and it could apply the same kind of rules. If I want to set a rule for only watching an hour's worth a day, it could count my iOS usage because Google has access to that.
Yeah.
Another aspect too is they could release a third-party macOS app because macOS is a little bit more open than
Mm.
it's a lot of bit more open than iOS is. So they could do a third-party wellness app on the Mac, and that'd be great. I mean that's my primary setup. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like I've got a Pixel 2 XL and I've got a MacBook, and I want to use the same wellness data on both devices. And at the moment
Absolutely.
that's not possible. So that's just something that's been stewing in my brain about these wellness features, and I just wanted
Yeah.
to get that out. It's a thought, frustration, or I guess I don't know, just a feature request. Next up, we had Galaxy Note 9. So this is not my typical beat. uh, the Galaxy Note 9 is set to be announced early next month at Samsung's event in New York. And it's pretty much been leaked in its entirety at this point. People who are following us or any of the countless Android blogs are probably well aware that it looks a lot like the Note 8. There's no notch, which is interesting in itself, I think, because Samsung is like one of the only holdouts left in that
Good for
category.
Samsung.
Yeah, good for Samsung. At the same time, I bet the S10 is gonna change that. But so, anyways, my story was that so that is the Note 9 is launching next month, and apparently, according to a source familiar with the plan, one of our sources, Samsung is planning to launch Fortnite. So Fortnite for Android. I'm not really a big Fortnite player. I've played a few times, and I know you said you don't really like it, but apparently Fortnite is going to be a Galaxy Note 9 exclusive for 30 days because of a deal that Epic Games worked out with Samsung. So yeah, I mean, I guess the real story here is not, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of aspects. One of them is like the Note 9 is traditionally, or the Note line in general, has traditionally been kind of aimed at uh, professionals,
Yes,
you know, like,
exactly.
and so it's weird to see
Like
that,
the crossover is very weird. Yeah,
right? It's
it's
like
very weird.
their main promotion is going to be a game that's primarily played by, you know, teenagers. So
I don't know. Battle in the boardrooms, battle in the mobile apps. I don't know. It could be a stress relief thing that an
yeah, no,
untapped market that none of us are aware of.
yeah, I know that plenty of older people play it. I'm just saying, primarily, Fortnite seems aimed at the younger side of things, and so it seems like maybe, I mean, maybe Samsung's had a little bit of a change of heart in terms of what it wants its target market to be with the
You couldn't know.
Note line. I mean, and on top of that, so our source says that on top of the Note 9 getting Fortnite for 30 days, Samsung's also offering two options for pre-order bonuses. One of them being like $100 in V-Bucks credits, so in-game currency in Fortnite for unlocking like costumes and stuff, which is, it just sounds crazy to me that this is what like they chose. This is what they chose to be the incentive for buying a Note 9.
Yeah.
Fortnite costumes. That's basically what it boils down to is Fortnite in-game aesthetic options. And then if you're not, so like Fortnite for 30 days is going to apply to all Galaxy Note 9 owners. But if you're not interested in the V-Bucks, you can opt for a pair of headphones with the Note 9 pre-order. So I guess the bigger story here for people who aren't going to spend $1,000 to get a 30-day exclusive access to Fortnite on Android when it's already, as I may note, already available on pretty much every other platform. So there's no way that people buying a $1,000 phone don't already have access to Fortnite on some other platform.
Yeah.
Whether it be Switch or PC or Xbox or whatever. But apparently, I guess if you do the math, this 30-day exclusive would mean that Fortnite is publicly launching on Android in late September. So, yeah, Epic Games said, I think previously, that it was coming this summer or something, and so maybe it got delayed. Maybe it got delayed because they cut a deal with Samsung. So
Yeah, which seems very likely
yeah,
from the
so
outside.
neither of us are real big Fortnite players, but that's your exclusive alphabet scoop for the week.
Indeed.
Other notable stories we had this week was you
Smart
reviewed the.
displays launching.
Oh yeah, that's right. Smart displays. That's a big deal. We've only got 15 minutes left, and we need to talk about smart displays. So, smart
Yes.
displays were announced back at CES, and now they're out, right?
Yeah. The Lenovo Smart Display, which is honestly the nicest model, comes in 8 and 10 inches. There's a nice wood backing on one of them. It's Google's answer to the Echo Show, which we first heard about at the end of 2017, was it? Amidst all the YouTube, Amazon drama. It's here.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's our review loved it as a kitchen device.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where kind of where Google's pushing it. I think that's the ideal. I saw another headline. I think it was Techno Buffalo. They said that, you know, no offense, Techno Buffalo, but I didn't get it. They said everyone needs one of these in their living room, which I was like of all the rooms, like I think the living room is like the least likely because it's like, are you gonna? I mean, okay, duo calls. Let's use that as an example. Are you gonna be sitting on the couch halfway across the room and have a duo call on an 8-inch screen? That makes no sense. And then I guess like a lot of these little interactions, you know, it's like
Yeah,
we already have
virtual interaction.
we have displays in our living rooms already, you know, so it's like you know, you can Chromecast YouTube and, you know, Spotify or whatever, but, you know, having a smart display in your living room doesn't really bring much benefit. But like you mentioned, the kitchen, I think, is like the ideal use case because most people don't have a screen in their kitchen yet. So we all have screens in every room in our life, and we have a screen in our pocket that we carry with us 24/7. And a lot of us have screens in our cars, like CarPlay or Android Auto or whatever. But a lot of us don't have screens in our kitchen, and I guess people who own an Echo Show are probably the exception to that rule. And I guess there have been, I think there have been like tablet setups where people have owned like a tablet and made a setup for their kitchen or whatever.
Oh, definitely. All Nexus 7s.
That's been going on for a long time. Yeah, Nexus 7. I think I
Yeah.
remember seeing some hacks of people setting those up in their kitchen or attached to their fridge or whatever. But yeah, so I think Google's really pushing this thing for the kitchen. I think that makes the most sense. And I guess evidence of that is they're pushing recipes as one of those big features. And it makes a lot of sense. Honestly, that's like that's the thing I'm most excited for to use this. Currently, I have my home Max in my kitchen, and I'm ready to move that to the living room and put a smart display in the kitchen and, just say hot word, give me a recipe for paleo, gluten-free, vegan chocolate chip cookies or whatever. And
I would love some cookies right now, actually.
And be able to, I think the recipes make no sense on a speaker because it's like they try to read it.
Which they tried. They tried.
They did. They tried.
It's
and
still
it
a thing
doesn't
you can do.
sense.
No, it's not.
I've never used it that way, and I think that's a really interesting point because I've long said that even with their fallbacks, I think smart speakers, their best home in general, like Google Home, I've long said for a few years now that the kitchen makes the most sense. For setting timers whenever your hands are sticky when you're cooking, or listening to music and jamming out while you're baking or making lunch or whatever. Like that just makes sense to me because a kitchen is typically a place where we don't have access to those things. And so I guess the smart speaker takes I think it boils down to is the smart speaker, or the smart display, I should say, is taking a device that already I think is very well fit for the kitchen and making it even more kitchen friendly. I guess with the exception of now we're going to have sticky fingers on screens, which we don't really need. But,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on
that sticky fingers note? What was that? Was the DARPA thing at Google? The phone, the Blocks phone.
Oh, Project Aura. Yeah, Project Aura.
What? Remember Project Soli, the thing where you can
Soli, gotcha.
Yeah, navigate.
Yeah, Soli was like a radar. It was a mini radar that was built into, or they tried building it into a Wear OS or Android Wear at the time watch. This was announced back in 2015. Pretty sure Google I/O 2015. It was announced alongside Project Vault and Project Jacquard. Obviously, Jacquard has become a consumer product. It's available in a Levi's jacket, which I've worn. Speaking of Jacquard, where is Jacquard? It's been a while, so we need an update on that. But Soli, as you were saying, is a little mini radar that they, in 2016, I believe, a year later, they demoed an Android Wear smartwatch with Soli built in that you could control. You could basically use your finger movements to control Wear or Android Wear. So how does that connect to sticky fingers?
So you can just like hover over.
Oh, right.
Have to.
Yes, having Project Soli on a smart display would make a lot of sense. And why haven't they done that? There's got to be some functional or practical reason because in watches, the challenge was they had to make the watch like way bigger to cram the hardware in there.
And it's a battery. This is what
smart display shouldn't have those limitations. What I would guess is that the tech just isn't there in terms of accuracy. And I guess another thing might be intuitiveness of controlling it. Like it may not be obvious. Like, you need to do this little gesture if you want to scroll, and you need to do this gesture if you want to select or whatever. That probably does not probably doesn't come that quickly to people. And I bet even if they did put Soli in the smart display, people would probably just use the screen. Until we find some. I mean, the way a lot of these kinds of things work is sidebar. This is a super sidebar, but I was reading this week a story about how Microsoft, when they first launched Windows, they included Solitaire and Minesweeper as a way to train you to use your mouse. So it was basically like the games were so like the games were included. Like, you didn't know this, but like they were training people to use mouses for the first time. And
That is
so,
cool.
like that's one example of like, solely needs that, like they need something they need a tech, a device or something that will help teach them, a new way of interacting with devices. And I guess
Mm,
I would
mm,
guess that solely just doesn't have that yet. And maybe smart
got
display,
it.
not
That
right.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, so smart displays. I'm I still don't know if I were to get one, I still don't know where I would put it. I think I would put on my desk as like a quick music access kind of thing, like dedicated music player with pretty good speakers. Um, I'm not sure where I would beyond that. I guess I'd put it in like a main hallway kind of thing with a table. But for me at least, I don't. I'm excited. Honestly, I really like this Lenovo hardware. How it can tilt horizontal and vertical. I think that the wood veneer, the shape of it looks really modern and nice. So as an object, I really like it. And I think
right.
like this is on the level of like Google's design. If they were to come up with a smart display, but Lenovo did it. So props to them on that. But yeah, I don't really quite see the kitchen use case for me personally. But I think when Google advertises this, the scent at in the kitchen, it's going to be a major thing.
Yeah. I think one thing that this thing could benefit from is a battery. So we've
Hmm.
actually heard that Google. We've mentioned this on Alphabet Scoop. So here's another little mini scoop for you. We've heard from one of our tipsters that Google's working on. I mean, we've heard for a long time from other sources that Google's working on its own first party smart display. But specifically, we heard from one of our sources that has a battery. And I think that's one thing that these could really benefit from. One, it's kind of ugly to have wires laying around your kitchen counter. I mean, that's one thing. Two is I feel like these kind of displays would be really nice to like move around the house depending on where you need it. So like
Yes,
have it in the
absolutely
kitchen for
agree.
a week at a time, move it into the living room for whatever. There's various like use cases. Like you could have a party or whatever in your living room and you can have friends over
Yes.
and it might make sense to move it in there for the party or whatever. So like that's one thing that I think, might be a big win for or might make this product make more sense for more use cases.
Honestly, like a wireless charging base that you can like buy extra of, and you just like plop it on into like these use cases around the house. But I agree that the better idea is a built-in battery.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. I mean, at least with I mean, we've seen the JBL one and the Lenovo one. They're both kind of bulky enough that you could
Yeah.
probably fit a pretty big battery in there. Like
Yep.
some of these Bluetooth speakers that some of these companies are making last days because they're bulky devices and you can fit a huge lithium ion battery in there. And so
Hmm.
you know it's obviously going to be way better than a tablet. A tablet would probably I don't know. It should be. I mean, our tipster said something like 6 hours, which is not as much as it really should be if you think about it. Unless Google's is like super like sexy and like slimline. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But at least with this Lenovo one, they could fit a huge battery in that back
By
like
the looks of
stand.
it, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what else do we have this week before we close out the show? Are you wearing your smart ring right now?
No, I'm not. Nope. It's a so this company called Motive made a smart ring, which is a all-day fitness tracker, just a fitness tracker. It has a very in this in this casing that is thinner than a nickel. They've managed to fit a heart rate sensor, which is again, this technology is to me is an impressive package. It's the quality wise is as good as a Fitbit, and it costs $200. So I think if they got it down to like $100 price point or at least 150, it'll be more attractive to people. But props in the technology. Also, the Android app needs a lot of work. This was an iOS first product, and the Android app feels like a direct iOS port. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, that's a
my
bummer.
fast hands-on. Yeah,
So it wasn't good enough for you to wear it all week at Cloud Next.
no. And the battery life is 3 days. So mm,
Yikes. Yeah, I was thinking about it. So like it makes sense for me because I wear a wedding band. So, functionally
Yeah, it would.
it might make sense to just replace my wedding band if it lasted like 30 days. Like if I could get that tiny tech like to last like a month, then I would charge
Yeah,
it once a month or even 7 days. If I could get a week out of it and just charge it every Sunday night or something like that,
yeah,
maybe that would make sense for me because I wear a ring anyway. But 3 days is that's just like right there at the border of line at the borderline of like that requires too much maintenance. And it's not really about, like I say this with smartwatches too. It's not about how long it takes to charge. I mean, you can charge an Android Wear watch or an Apple Watch in a few hours, and it'll be good for a day at least.
uh-huh.
But it's the habit of it, I guess. It's the
Yeah. 3 days is an odd time frame.
yeah, it's hard to get into a habit of charging your ring every 3 days. Like that's,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, you charge it Sunday and like, oh crap, I gotta remember to charge it Wednesday, and then it's like, oh now you charge it Friday and now Monday, and like that's you can't just. There's no. I feel like the daily charge. It's like daily charge is like that makes
oh
sense. That's what we do with
yeah,
phones, right? Like we're in the habit we plug at night. We plug at night, wake up in the morning, you're done. That's what we do with phones. That's what we do with like a lot of devices. Once you get past that, you have to get to a certain longer term battery life before it's actually more convenient. Is 3 days actually more convenient than one day? I don't really
no,
think. Is 7 days or 21 days or a month better than one day? I think yes. So yeah, I
yeah,
think that's the main thing holding back. It's just right now it's a technical limitation of lithium ion, I think, and so it's
yeah,
like every day we see a new report in the news about some new battery technology, whether it be graphene or whatever. But
yeah,
hopefully in the next couple of years or next few years we'll see something
yeah.
emerge
That is
practically.
when batteries get longer. That is the next shift in this industry of what longer running batteries will power. So that's an exciting thing to look forward to. I wonder
Sure.
if Google has any battery research going on.
Yeah, I don't know. That's your job. You can figure that out. I officially assign you the job of figuring out if Google has an internal battery
Battery
project.
engineers. Yes. Awesome.
Other stories this week. Let's see.
Kind
There
of a
was
last week thing.
yeah. So like there
Um,
were a few things. There was the Fuchsia story from last week. Uh, so we've got Fuchsia Friday going up in probably an hour or two. Our Kyle Bradshaw. The report from Bloomberg from our old pal Mark Gurman and the other Mark at Bloomberg, Mark Burgeon, they basically put a timeline on Fuchsia for the first time, which Google immediately denied in on the record statement. So who knows what? I mean, obviously PR has no real incentive to tell the truth. It's PR's job to protect the company image at all costs. But so this report said that Fuchsia could replace Android in 5 years, and within a few years, Google wants to put Fuchsia on smart speakers, right?
yes. Yeah.
Other
Makes
than
sense.
that, I don't think the report really had that many new details. They did it
Nope.
mentioned some like internal politics things about like some conflicts that happened between the ads team and the Fuchsia team, and what direction they want to take Fuchsia, if they want to have more privacy or less privacy than Android, or if they want to embrace traditional Google ideology or lock things down more. But other than that, I feel like
Hmm.
Kyle really knocked it out of the park over the last couple months, digging up most of the very basic details. Even I mean, Bloomberg gave us a backlink on YouTube. Google working on the YouTube app for Fuchsia. So if you want to read more about Fuchsia, I would recommend Kyle's work in Fuchsia Friday. Just go over to 95 Google and search that. But I think that pretty much wraps up the show. Is there anything else
Yeah.
you want to touch on before we close out for
No,
the?
that's it for the week.
Okay, great. Well, we'll see everyone next week. And until then, you can tune into Alphabet Scoop every week here on YouTube. We record this podcast every Friday and publish every Saturday morning on your favorite podcasting platforms, such as iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, Google Play Music. And you can also listen over at 9to5google.com. Thanks for tuning in as always. And thanks to Abner for joining me. And we'll see you again next week.
Bye.